Ladies and gentlemen, let us begin with something very simple but very profound. Your life is, in essence, a reflection of how you think. Before you ever take action, before you ever make a decision, before you ever move forward or backward, it begins with a thought. And yet, most people live as though their thoughts are random, uncontrollable, and inconsequential. They allow their minds to run like a wild horse, dragging them in every direction, and then they wonder why their lives feel chaotic, why their emotions are unstable, and why nothing ever seems to fall into place. The truth is, the real battle of life doesn't begin in the world outside, it begins in the inner world of the mind. If you lose there, it doesn't matter what strategies you adopt, what opportunities come your way, or how much external success you appear to have. You'll sabotage yourself because you never learn to master the very source of your experience, your thoughts. Think of it this way. The human mind is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant in it will grow, whether it's weeds or fruitful crops. If you plant doubt, self-hatred, resentment, laziness, those will flourish and they'll choke out the possibility of anything good taking root. But if you plant discipline, courage, gratitude, and resilience, then over time those qualities will grow and they will shape a life of stability and meaning. The problem is that most people don't realize they are planting anything at all. They believe their thoughts simply happen to them, that they have no choice in what takes root. But that belief is false, and it's dangerous. To think correctly, you must begin by accepting full responsibility for your inner dialogue. Every thought you entertain carries weight. Every mental picture you allow to replay in your mind is shaping you, whether you like it or not. And so you need to treat your thoughts like you would treat your physical environment. If you wouldn't allow garbage to pile up in your living room, then why would you allow toxic, destructive ideas to pile up in your head? Now, of course, people might argue, but thoughts just come, I can't stop them. That's true in part. You cannot prevent a thought from arising. But you can decide whether or not you give it space to stay. You can choose whether to feed it, to rehearse it, to dwell on it, or to let it pass and replace it with something healthier. Correct thinking is not about suppressing every negative thought, it's about refusing to let them become the architects of your reality. What complicates this is that many of the thoughts you carry are not even your own. They are inherited from your culture, your family, the people you've been around, and the systems that have shaped you. You may be living with the voice of a critical parent in your head, convincing you that you'll never be good enough. You may be influenced by a culture that glorifies victimhood, convincing you that the world owes you something. You may be held hostage by past failures, each one whispering that the future will be no different. Unless you become aware of these mental patterns, you will continue to mistake them for truth, and they will dictate your destiny. This is why thinking correctly is not just about positive affirmations or repeating nice phrases in the mirror. It's far deeper than that. It's about brutal self-examination. It's about asking, what am I thinking right now? Is this thought strengthening me or weakening me? Is it aligned with truth, or is it simply a lie I've rehearsed so many times that it feels real? That kind of mental discipline is not easy, it's uncomfortable, but without it, you remain a slave to whatever random narrative dominates your mind at any given moment. And here is where the challenge and the opportunity truly lies. Once you recognize that your thoughts are not neutral, that they are actively shaping your emotions, your behaviors, and your outcomes, then you realize you have a moral responsibility to discipline them. Thinking correctly isn't optional if you want a meaningful life. It's the foundation of everything. Without it, all your actions are built on sand. With it, you can create stability, direction, and strength. So let me leave you with this. If you want to change your life, do not start with the external. Do not chase endless strategies, quick fixes, or superficial solutions. Start by mastering the battleground of your mind, because the quality of your thoughts will determine the quality of your existence. Guard them, challenge them, direct them, and in doing so, you will discover that the first step toward freedom is to win the war within. When you master your thoughts, you master your life. Ladies and gentlemen, once you begin to understand that the mind is the true battleground, the next step is to confront a truth that many people would rather avoid. You cannot think correctly if you live in a posture of victimhood. This is one of the deepest poisons of modern culture, the idea that life is something happening to you, that you are merely at the mercy of forces outside your control, that you are defined by what others did to you, or by the unfairness of circumstance. The victim mentality has become so normalized that many don't even recognize when they've embraced it, and yet, it is one of the greatest obstacles to living a meaningful life. Now let me be clear, life is unfair. Some people are born into broken families, some experience tragedy, betrayal, illness, or injustice through no fault of their own. To deny that would be dishonest, but the danger lies not in the fact that unfairness exists, the danger lies in allowing it to dictate how you see yourself and how you choose to live. If you identify yourself primarily as a victim, you hand over your power, you tell yourself, and everyone else, I cannot move forward until someone else changes, until the past is erased, until the world is made fair. That posture guarantees paralysis. Correct thinking demands something radically different. It demands responsibility, and responsibility doesn't mean blame. It doesn't mean pretending the wrongs against you never happened. What it means is that, regardless of what has been done to you, you are responsible for how you respond. That single shift in perspective changes everything, because once you embrace responsibility, you begin to see that your choices, your actions, and your mindset have far more influence over your destiny than anything that happened in your past. Think about it this way: responsibility is the bridge between suffering and growth. Without it, suffering simply destroys you. With it, suffering can refine you, strengthen you, and give you wisdom. Every person who has ever transformed their life began not by waiting for the world to change, but by accepting responsibility for what they could control: their own mind, their own behavior, their own effort. And when you start living this way, something incredible happens. The very obstacles that once seemed like curses become the training ground for strength. But why is this so difficult? Because responsibility is heavy. To accept it means to give up excuses. It means you can no longer say, I can't because of them, or I'm stuck because of this. It means you look in the mirror and confront the fact that your choices today are shaping your tomorrow. And that's a frightening realization, because it eliminates the comfort of self-pity. Victimhood, for all its misery, provides an easy way out. You don't have to act, you just have to blame. Responsibility removes that illusion and puts the burden of change back where it belongs, on you. Yet paradoxically, that burden is also freedom, because once you realize that you are responsible, you also realize that you are not powerless. You may not be able to control every circumstance, but you can control your attitude, your discipline, your effort, your honesty. And those are the things that truly determine the trajectory of your life. Look closely at the people you admire, the ones who seem resilient, strong, and unshakable. I guarantee you they are not the ones who had perfect lives, who were shielded from difficulty. They are the ones who faced hardship and chose to take responsibility anyway. They are the ones who refused to be defined by what was done to them, and instead defined themselves by how they responded. That's what correct thinking looks like. It's a refusal to live small, to wallow in resentment, to point endlessly outward. It's the courage to say, this is my life, and I will take ownership of it. And let me remind you, responsibility is not just about you. When you embrace it, you also lift others. If you choose victimhood, you spread bitterness. But when you choose responsibility, you become an example of strength to those around you, your family, your friends, your community. Your life becomes a message that says, yes, suffering is real, but so is resilience. Yes, life is unfair, but so is growth possible. So the question you must wrestle with is this: are you willing to carry the weight of responsibility, or will you cling to the comfort of blame? Only one of those choices leads to growth, to freedom, to strength of character, and only one of those choices allows you to think correctly about who you are and what you are capable of becoming. Take responsibility, not because it's easy, but because it's the only way forward, for in responsibility lies the power to transform your life. Victimhood keeps you trapped in the past. Responsibility gives you the future. Ladies and gentlemen, once you've begun disciplining your mind and refusing the trap of victimhood, the next step in learning to think correctly is to anchor yourself in truth. Without truth, all your discipline and responsibility will eventually collapse, because they'll be built on illusions, and illusions, no matter how comforting, always betray you in the end. Now here's the uncomfortable reality. Most people lie to themselves constantly. They lie about what they want, they lie about why they failed, they lie about the state of their relationships, they lie about their habits, and they lie about the gap between who they are and who they pretend to be. Sometimes they lie out of pride, sometimes out of fear, and sometimes simply because the truth feels unbearable. But here's the paradox: while truth may hurt, lies are far more destructive. A single truth, no matter how painful, can orient you toward reality. A lie, no matter how comforting, separates you from reality. And if you live too long separated from reality, your entire life becomes unstable, fragile, and filled with suffering. Think about it: when you lie to yourself about your health, you ignore the habits that are destroying you until it's too late. When you lie about your financial situation, you keep spending recklessly until you drown in debt. When you lie about your relationships, you stay in dysfunction until it corrodes everything around you. Lies do not protect you, they anesthetize you, and then they kill you slowly. To think correctly, then, you must commit yourself to truth, even when it cuts, even when it exposes your weakness, even when it demands change. Because only truth has the power to set boundaries between what is real and what is fantasy, and only when you are aligned with what is real can you begin to build anything that lasts. But truth isn't just about facts or data, it's deeper than that. Truth is the recognition of reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. It's the willingness to look at yourself honestly and say, this is where I stand, and this is what I need to do. That act alone requires courage, because the human ego hates exposure. We all prefer to believe we're doing better than we are, that we're further along than we are, that our failures aren't really our fault. But correct thinking doesn't allow you that luxury. It demands that you tear down the masks, face the raw facts, and accept them as the starting point for growth. Now some might ask, why should I burden myself with truth if it hurts so much? The answer is simple. Because the alternative is far worse. Painful truth at least gives you solid ground to stand on. It gives you the possibility of change. A comforting lie gives you nothing but delay, and in that delay, problems multiply until they consume you. Think of a man who discovers a crack in the foundation of his house. If he faces the truth, he can repair it. If he lies to himself, if he paints over it, if he pretends it's not there, eventually the house collapses. And when it collapses, it doesn't just harm him, it harms everyone inside. That's exactly how lies work in the mind. And there's another reason truth is indispensable: it strengthens character. Every time you confront a truth instead of hiding from it, you grow more resilient. You become the kind of person who can handle reality, not someone who crumbles under its weight. And isn't that the kind of person you want to be? Someone who can stand tall in the storm, not because the storm isn't real, but because you've built your life on rock instead of sand. But here's the challenge: you cannot wait for truth to reveal itself, you must pursue it. That means questioning your assumptions, examining your motives, and being willing to hear perspectives that challenge your comfort. It means asking hard questions like, am I really putting in the effort I claim to be? Am I treating the people in my life with integrity? Am I living according to what I know is right, or am I deceiving myself? The courage to ask and answer those questions is the foundation of correct thinking. And remember this: truth doesn't just transform your internal life, it affects the world around you. A single person who is committed to truth can change the culture of a family, a workplace, even a community. Because truth is contagious, it cuts through fog, it commands respect, and it inspires others to abandon their illusions as well. So let me leave you with this: if you want to think correctly, you cannot afford to build your life on lies. Lies are weak scaffolding, they collapse under the weight of reality, but truth is bedrock. It may be hard, it may be unforgiving, but it can hold the weight of your entire existence. Embrace it, even when it hurts, because only truth will set you free. The more you align with truth, the stronger you become. The more you cling to lies, the weaker you remain. Choose strength, choose truth. Ladies and gentlemen, once you've disciplined your thoughts, refused to live as a victim, and grounded yourself in truth, the natural next step is to bring order into your mind. And order is not some abstract idea, it is the very framework that allows you to live a life of stability, meaning, and direction. Without order in your thinking, your life remains chaotic, disorganized, and scattered. You might have ambition, you might even have talent, but without order, those qualities are wasted. They dissipate like smoke in the wind. Think of your mind as a house. If the furniture is scattered everywhere, if the dishes are piled high, if the floor is cluttered with debris, you can't function properly. You trip, you lose things, you grow frustrated. The mess itself begins to dictate how you live. The same is true of your mental life. If your thoughts are undisciplined, if they're tangled and directionless, you will live in a constant state of internal noise. And no one who lives in noise can think clearly, act decisively, or pursue their purpose with focus. Order begins with clarity. You must decide what matters and what doesn't. Most people clutter their minds with endless distractions, worries about things outside their control, petty resentments, constant comparisons to others, hours of meaningless consumption. This mental clutter consumes energy, and worse, it obscures vision. You cannot aim at anything worthwhile if your mind is constantly flooded with noise. Correct thinking means stripping away the unnecessary, filtering out the voices that don't deserve your attention, and concentrating on the few things that actually move your life forward. And here's where philosophy meets practicality. When your thoughts are ordered, your emotions begin to settle, anxiety thrives in chaos. Peace grows in clarity. Many people chase peace as though it's some mystical state, but in reality, peace often emerges when you put your inner world in order. The same way a clean, well-organized room feels calm, an ordered mind creates space for stability and direction. Of course, creating order doesn't happen by accident. It requires structure and discipline. That's why practices like journaling, reflection, planning, or even simply asking yourself each morning, what matters most today? It can be transformative. These aren't trivial habits, they are ways of bringing form to the formless, of imposing order on the chaos of thought. And that order then translates into action, because when you know what matters, you stop wasting time on what doesn't. But let's go deeper. Order in your mind is not just about efficiency, it is about alignment with meaning. When your inner world is chaotic, you cannot discern what is meaningful from what is trivial. Everything feels urgent, everything feels equally loud, and in that noise the truly important things are drowned out. But when you establish order, meaning begins to rise to the surface. You start to see clearly, this is worth pursuing, this is worth sacrificing for, this is worth enduring hardship for. That clarity transforms not only how you think, but how you live, and make no mistake, chaos is always waiting. If you neglect the discipline of ordering your mind, confusion will return. It's like tending a garden. If you don't intentionally cultivate what's good, weeds will take over. Likewise, if you don't intentionally guide your thoughts, destructive patterns will creep back in: procrastination, resentment, envy, self-doubt. Order must be maintained daily, because the cost of neglect is too high. Yet here is the beauty of it. When you create order in your mind, the external world begins to shift as well. A person with ordered thoughts makes better decisions. They handle conflict with clarity instead of emotion. They prioritize what truly matters and let go of what doesn't. Their life begins to reflect the structure they've established internally, and that's not magic, it's the natural law of cause and effect. The external is a mirror of the internal. Now, some people resist this idea. They think order is restrictive, that it limits freedom. But in truth, the opposite is real. Chaos enslaves you, order liberates you. When your mind is in chaos, you are pulled in 1,000 directions by impulses, distractions, and conflicting desires. But when your mind is ordered, you are free to pursue your goals with focus. You are free to build instead of constantly repairing. You are free to move forward without being dragged backward by confusion. Order does not limit you, it empowers you. So here is the challenge: will you allow your mind to remain a cluttered room where chaos rules, or will you impose order and create a space where clarity and meaning can thrive? Because the quality of your thoughts is not random, it is the direct result of the order or disorder you allow. If you want to think correctly, you must cultivate order, not once, not occasionally, but as a way of life. For in ordering your thoughts, you order your existence. Bring order to your mind, and your life will follow. Leave your mind in chaos, and chaos will follow you everywhere.